Hello, today we're going to start talking a little bit about what are macros. So you may have heard this term macros or macronutrients, and it's one thing that we want to look at and learn about when we're trying to figure out what might be a good food. And so macronutrients are usually separated into three categories. We have our protein, we have our carbohydrates, and we have fats. The first step I tell patients is let's just start learning about protein and counting the protein macronutrients. And that's going to be one of the most important things that we're trying to focus on because there are essential amino acids that your body needs. When we look at how much protein an average person should have, anywhere from 60 to 80 grams is a general good baseline to start with. A lot of foods also are deceiving because they'll be labeled healthy or organic, and you think that might be a great choice, but they may not really fit into what your goals are for your macronutrients. In general, I tell patients we're going to try to keep our carbohydrate grams less than 30 grams per day. So if we start looking at some of these foods, so right here we have our typical protein supplement shake, and it has less than 1 gram of carbohydrates, and it's going to have 15 grams of protein per serving. And so this is something that we have in the office. So if you're struggling to get your protein intake in after surgery, this is a small volume of fluid, and that will allow you to get some of the protein nutrients that you need. There's some other shakes that we can look at. So here's one that's a muscle milk. It says right here on the label it has 20 grams of protein. Total carbohydrates are less than 5. It has 1 gram of fat. I'm not so concerned about calories per se, so we don't really advise patients to count calories. Calories aren't really as important as trying to fit the foods with the right category of macronutrients into your diet. Some other shakes that might be helpful after surgery. This one is Premier Protein. It has 30 grams of protein per serving. A lot of patients like the pre-mixed types of shakes because they're already pre-mixed. You can just leave it in the fridge and then take it to work. So on this one, it has 4 grams of carbohydrates, 30 grams of protein, 3 grams of fat. So this would be a good choice. So this would be something that could be helpful in losing weight and meeting your protein goals. Ensure, there's several different types of the Ensure product. This one is a good one. This one is the Max Protein. So this one has 30 grams of protein and still has less than 6 grams of carbohydrates. So it's a little bit higher on the carbohydrate grams, but certainly would fit in the macronutrient ratio that we're looking to achieve. And then some other snack foods, these are all processed foods. So in general, I tell my patients, try to eat whole natural foods whenever possible. However, following weight loss surgery, you may not be able to eat a big volume of food. And things like these protein shakes could be a good supplement for you in helping to achieve adequate protein intake. So this is something called moon cheese. So this is basically cheese without anything else. And so this is crunchy. It could satisfy that desire for something crunchy, salty, like the chip consistency. And so this has 1 gram of carbohydrates. It does have 14 grams of fat, so it's a little heavier on the fat, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but if you are concerned about that, then just kind of be aware. And then protein has 11 grams, so certainly not bad. And then also look at serving sizes. So when you have a big package like this, read at the top, it has 2 servings per container. So if you eat the whole bag, just be aware that you're going to need to double that. Other particular foods, we want to look at. Sometimes people, say, I'm just doing soups, and a lot of times we're on liquid diets after surgery, and that sort of consistency can be helpful. But here's, a nice brand, Amy's Organic, so, it seems very healthy and good for us. But when we look at, the ratios of the macronutrients, our total carbohydrate is 24 grams, which is a little bit high. So if we're trying to stick to that 30 grams of carbohydrates per day, 1 serving of this is going to get you pretty close to that maximum level. And then we look at protein, and it's got 7 grams. So it's okay, but it's certainly not stellar in the protein department. So those are the 2 main ratios of the macronutrients that we want to look at. So We want higher on the protein, 15 to 30 grams per serving is better. And on the carbohydrates, if we can keep that to 5 or less, that's going to be a better food. And then let's look here at another thing of soup here that we have. This one is vegetable barley. It says low fat, so people might flock to this one thinking, oh, well, this one's a good low calorie option. And once again, not so concerned about calories, but we're concerned about protein. So here's protein, 2 grams of protein for this particular soup. So that's pretty low. We're not going to get a whole lot of muscle building energy out of this food. Carbohydrates, 15 grams. So 2 servings of this, and we've already reached our carbohydrate maximum for the day, and we're not getting anywhere close to our protein requirements. So it's a good way to get some liquids in, and if you can't tolerate anything else, soups might be very helpful in the beginning, but we're certainly not achieving those protein ratios that we want to. People ask me all the time, what about peanut butter? Peanut butter has protein, right? That's a good food. And you have to be a little bit conscientious about what brand and what ingredients are in these types of foods, because sometimes they have some bad seed oils added to them, and they usually have some sugar. So when we look at this Skippy Natural Creamy Peanut Butter, the protein is 7 grams, so it's okay, but it doesn't have an exceptional amount of protein. And then carbohydrate grams are 6 grams, so it's a little higher on the carbohydrates, and the protein could be a little bit better. So it's an okay food. If you like the peanut butter flavor and you're blending a shake, you might be able to put just a little bit of it. They also make a peanut butter powder that you can put to shakes, and that can be a good flavor profile for some patients. But just be a little bit cautious with peanut butter. It's certainly something that you don't want to make the majority of your diet composed of. And then just other types of snack foods, when we're trying to go lower carbohydrate, we don't want to add carbohydrates to our diet, but yet we have dips, we have, things that we want to have that crunch added to it. These are some Parmesan crisps. This is basically baked cheese. So when we look at the macronutrient ratio of this, we have 9 grams of protein, which is okay. We're getting up there on the protein. And total carbohydrates, just 1 gram. So this would be a good type of food. So let's say you made a chicken salad or a tuna salad for your lunch. You could eat it with some of these crisps, and that would give you a little extra crunch or texture to that food without adding a lot of carbohydrates. So it sounds overwhelming, but kind of basics on learning how to look at macronutrients. Start tracking protein grams first. That's going to give you the most amount of information to be able to decide if that's a good food. And then second thing to look at would be the total carbohydrates. Fats, I tell people, is just a filler to help you feel full. Fats are going to make you feel satiated, or that feeling of fullness. You don't have to reach a certain fat goal for the day. You just eat foods that have enough fat that make you feel satisfied and full. So if you're going towards foods that are protein rich, lower in carbohydrates, and then fat as needed to help you feel full, you'll be well on your way to achieving your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more tips and educational tools.